It's true what they say. If you're poor, you're crazy, and if you're rich, you're eccentric. For the last 10 years, I've been working for Lord Humphrey in the north of England as a groundkeeper and handyman. Lord Humphrey is about as eccentric as they come, as was his father, Lord Humphrey I, and his father, Lord Charles. I suspect Lord Charles's marriage to his cousin, who may or not have also been his half-sister, to be the cause. The old families here are ridiculously inbred. Like a lot of the landed gentry in England, the estate that currently Lord Humphrey owns is ridiculously valuable, but in actual monetary terms, he's barely worth a pot to piss in. My wages are low, but I don't mind because the job comes with the groundkeeper's cottage, and I really love the outdoors. I had a hideous childhood, mostly down to my mother, and left home the moment that she died. This place is somewhere I've been massively happy. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave. The family secret is about to come out, and I don't think this is going to be a good place to be anymore once it does. The estate is 1,400 acres, even having its own castle. Originally, the family lived there, but as money got tighter and it fell into disrepair, they moved into Hawthorne Hall, which was another property on the estate. The contents of the castle were sold off, and it rapidly became little more than a ruin. There are many other properties on the estate, including some old farm buildings that have been renovated and are now offices, and a few little cottages. There are also some vast wooded areas and many fields. In the middle of summer, the hunting parties come to shoot geese and pheasant. As with any old places in England, the rumors of ghosts in the castle and lights in the woods are rife. And occasionally, I've had to chase off teenagers during the night that have come ghost hunting. I've never seen any myself and find the estate beautiful and peaceful. I guess my story really starts at the time Lord Humphrey asked me to come and check out a growing damp patch on one of the ceilings in Hawthorne Hall. I won't bore you with the details, but while I was up in the attic fixing a leaking pipe, I found a journal. It was the journal of Lord Charles, and I'll begin by sharing some excerpts that I thought were fairly interesting. A child has disappeared from the village, and I suspect Humphrey to be involved. I saw the two of them playing only 2 days ago. I've questioned the boy, and he denies any involvement. However, he will not meet my eyes, and I imagine him to know more than he is willing to tell. Humphrey is distraught. His nurse's maid tells me he whimpers in the night. He will not take any food, and I am seriously worried about him. Tonight I must sit down with Humphrey and discover what is ailing him. He is but skin and bone now, and I cannot lose another child. His mother could not cope. Losing our darling family at only 7 years of age to scarlet fever was almost too much for her to bear. Humphrey must be saved. Can I live with this terrible truth? My own son, a murderer. However, accidental by design. At 9 years of age, did he not realize that a child cannot live without sustenance? Was it an accident? His demeanor since would lead me to believe so. But surely when the villagers were out searching for the child, he realized that was the time to speak. He locked the boy in Emily's old playhouse without so much as water. Wish that I'd raised it to the ground when she passed on. Even while the search was going on, he knew that the boy could still be saved and yet said nothing. I have sealed it now, and none shall enter. It be buried in the brambles that surround it, and no one find the poor child's tomb. And may I be damned for my part in this horror. I guess Lord Humphrey Sr. had come to terms with what he had done because he lived to the ripe old age, and fathered Lord Humphrey Jr. along the way. After reading the journal, I did try to look for the playhouse for a while. but a couple of years ago I came across it completely by accident. It was buried in the woods and was the size of a small room with a very low roof. The family had obviously had money at this point because it was proper stone building. It had small shuttered windows and was in a state of dilapidation, although I suspect when it was first built for Lord Charles's daughter, it must have been rather pretty. The wood door was rotted on the front and decaying and easy to break open. Inside were child-sized chairs and a table made of hardwood that had stood at the test of time remarkably well. There was a faux fireplace on the back wall, and curled up next to it were the skeletal remains of a small child. I've always been a sucker for children, and the fact that this little one had a life snuffed out early was devastating to me. I repaired the door as best I could. The poor child should be left to rest in peace. Then a year ago, a child went missing at the estate. His mother was a cleaner at the hall and had let him wander off while she was indulging in polishing a knob of a different kind with a delivery man. For a brief moment, I did wonder if Lord Henry had anything to do with it, but as far as I could tell, his madness didn't extend further than taking pot shots at imaginary birds from the dining room windows in the hall, and wandering the grounds chatting away to himself. Lightning didn't strike twice in the way that I'd expected. The boy was found safe and sound. During the search, his mother disappeared without a trace. The locals, ever suspicious of the Lord of the Hall, were convinced Humphrey had something to do with it. Recently, Lord Humphrey had sold a chunk of his estate to developers as his funds were dwelling. On the land is the playhouse. The truth about the boy will come out, and I don't want to be around when it does. They're bound to realize I found the playhouse, because I've spent so much time on the estate. There'll be questions about why I didn't report the body. I couldn't, of course, because that's where I put the body of that woman. She was a terrible mother, just like mine. I'm not rich enough to be eccentric, so I guess bad mothers just make me crazy. There once was a place called Mr.Mime's Playhouse. It was a fun house with magic mirrors and clowns and cotton candy. I brought 5 of my friends: Jake, Max, Kim, Ian, and Nick. We all went to the magic mirrors. It was so much fun seeing our heads turn into balloons in the mirrors, even if it wasn't real. We met a Mr. Mime inside the funhouse who pretended to honk Jake's nose. I liked Mr. Mime. He seemed friendly and sweet. He gave Max some cotton candy, and for free. We had gone out of the magic mirrors and went on a ride, but realized Max wasn't with us. We still got on and had a lot of fun. The ride went so fast, it felt like I was riding on a bullet. We had gotten off, and at this point came across the same Mr. Mime. He had a big smile on his face, which made me happy. He looked so sweet. Almost as sweet as the cotton candy he gave to the little kids for free. The clown gave Kim his big red nose. After spending a little bit more time with Mr. Mime, we decided to go get some popcorn. But this time, Kim wasn't with us. Whatever. We'd probably catch up with him later. Probably just chatting up the friendly clown or someone else. Jake, Nick, and I went to get some popcorn and found the stand and tried to get some, but we had no money. But no fear. Mr. Mime was there to give Nick some money. He hugged us and we hugged him back. We decided to go to the circus where Prior and acrobats swung. Then we realized that Nick wasn't with us. Nah, he's probably just looking for Max. Then Jake and I decided to go into the clown room. And that's when we came across 10 bodies, surrounded by popcorn, cotton candy, and blood. And in the middle of this charade was Mr. Mime. Eating. Nick. He had his mouth inside Nick's stomach, eating his intestines. He turned and looked at us.
Oh, look. My friends.
He smiled at us. We were so scared. I spotted Max. Dead. Same with Kim. I would have cried if I wasn't so scared.
Let's play a game. Pin the tail on the donkey.
He yelled and charged at us. He grabbed Ian, and he bit Ian's arm until it started bleeding. He cried for mercy, but it was a waste of effort. Mr. Mime's mouth opened wide, and he ate him whole. And since the tent was locked, I couldn't run. I had watched my friends be eaten alive. And after Ian's final breath, he looked at me.
I never did give you a gift, did I? I shall give you the gift of life,
he said with a big, red-drenched smile. And then stepped forward, unlocked the tent door, and stepped out. My mom asked if I was okay and where were my friends. I'm not okay. My friends are dead at the hand of Mr. Mime within the playhouse. My mom told me to stop playing jokes, and as we drove off, I saw him standing in the entranceway of the playhouse, staring at the car as he mumbled,
"Come back soon, little one."
On August 27th, 1971, Robert Fosworth had just finalized the plans to a new restaurant he had envisioned, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. He had been trying to think of ways that he could make the restaurant appeal to the whole family, and be a place where both children and adults could have fun and spend quality time together. He visited a museum one day and saw an animatronic figure of Lincoln, and it hit him. He would create a band of animatronic animals to appeal to the children, while adults would appreciate the classic tunes that the animatronics sang, not to mention the adult-only beverages. He named the main animatronic Freddy Fazbear, after his grandfather, Frederick Fazbear. The names and other animatronics were a little less creative. Chica the chicken and Bonnie the bunny. That didn't matter, though. His dream of owning his own restaurant was finally coming true. October 1st, 1971. Robert received a call from the technician and was informed that the creation of the animatronics would be a lot more expensive than they had first calculated. Robert had requested very sophisticated AI from his machines. He wanted nothing less than the best. Still, he asked if there was anything he could do to lower the price at all. They informed him that they had been working on some experimental AI, and if he was willing to participate in this project, it would be a lot cheaper than the normal AI that he had requested. Too blinded by his grand vision, he accepted without asking any further questions. October 6th, 1971. The technicians worked day and night on the project. They had already been working on seeing how the human brain works with mechanical nerves, and trying to find a way to keep the mechanical body from rejecting the brain. Mr. Fosworth's request just gave them a way to test out the new machines in the public, and see how they would react with the world around them. After months of research, they discovered a way to insert a human brain into the skull of an endoskeleton, and connect to the nerves of the endoskeleton so that it can have complete control over the body. With this method, if the brain is preserved soon enough after death, a deceased person could be brought back to life. They placed a switch on the endoskeleton for safety purposes. If it was pressed, the free will would be shut off, and rudimentary AI would take over the body. After all the kinks were finally worked out, 4 models were shipped to Mr. Fosworth. October 20th, 1971. Robert was ecstatic when he received the shipment of robotic endoskeletons. The suits he had custom made for all of them would actually just arrive the day before. When he unpacked them, he was a little perplexed when he saw that he had actually received one more than he had asked them for. Well, with the cost of these things, I should get 4, he thought to himself, and quickly thought of a new animatronic to supplement the original band he had made. He brainstormed many ideas, but finally settled on one: Foxy the Pirate. When kids were done listening to the band, they could join Foxy on the wacky misadventures in Pirate Cove. He drew up the design and placed the order for the last batch of animatronic suits. October 9th, 1971. The suit for Foxy had finally arrived, and Robert and his employees eagerly unpacked it. Mr. Fosworth had just finished setting up most of the restaurant for public opening in January, but Pirate Cove was still under construction. They took Foxy to the backstage area and got to work in attaching the animatronic suits onto the endoskeleton. All of the costumes had openings in the back for the emergency off switch. After everything had been set up, Robert decided to turn them on, except for Foxy, to test them out. The animatronics moved their heads around, looked at the scenery around them, and then they looked at each other, then at the people in front of them, and finally their hands. At this point, they began acting more erratically, twitching. Bonnie asked in a surprisingly human-sounding voice, "What has happened to me? What have you done?" Assuming this was a prank by the manufacturer, Robert angrily switched off all the animatronics and made a call to the technicians who had created the endoskeletons. They told him that it was the sophisticated AI that they were using, and that he could use another switch on the skeleton to set them to only use pre-recorded voices. The only alternative was to send them to the manufacturer and have them remove this feature. Being nearly in debt because of the restaurant, Robert just turns off the free will feature of the animatronic and calls it a day. He wasn't going to let something like a minor defect ruin his dream. January 6th, 1972. Opening day. Opening day had finally arrived, and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria was packed with customers. Everyone brought their kids to see the band, while they all ate pizza as a family. Robert had his employees tinker with the animatronics for the past few months, and he finally got them in a state that was presentable to the public. He had them loaded with pre-spoken lines and songs for them to sing, and was overjoyed at the reception his restaurant was receiving. He was a success. Pirate Cove was filled with kids playing with Foxy on his pirate ship. He had been the hardest animatronic to get working correctly, but everything was going according to plan. June 25th, 1985. Robert Fosworth dies, leaving the restaurant to his son, Jeremy Fosworth. Having no interest in it, he quickly sells it to Funtime Inc., who offers him $1 million for the place. After this point, the standards in the establishment are lowered. The robots are set to free roam so that the management doesn't have to deal with their servos locking up. The place generally gets cleaned less, and less reputable people are hired for lower wages. October 2nd, 1985. 5 children are lured backstage in the restaurant and are never seen again. Police arrest a man believed to be the suspect. In reality, the Freddy animatronic, in free will mode, lured the children backstage and brutally murdered them. He stuffed their bodies into the extra animatronic suits laying around, for revenge for making him live like this. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria declined in popularity after this. No one wanted to bring their children there in fear of what might happen. May 18th, 1987. The district manager of Funtime Inc. was visiting the establishment to see how everything was going, and to see if any profits were being made since the incident of '85. After he passed Pirate Cove, Foxy lashed out and bit the man's head, tearing out his frontal lobe. Foxy was quickly tackled and turned off, but after this event, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria would never truly recover. Funtime Inc. wanted nothing to do with the place after the incident, putting it up for auction and selling it for only a measly $10,000 to a man named Jonathan Hugo. Instead of repairing Foxy, he just put up curtains in Pirate's Cove with an out of order sign in front. To keep such thing from ever happening again, he made sure to set the animatronics to only free roam mode at night. Fearing that they might try to leave at night and hurt people, however, he began hiring security guards for minimum wage to watch the place at night to use as bait. April 28th, 1990. Chica falls into disrepair and is discontinued. Strangely enough, a few months after one of the security guards mysteriously vanished, Chica appeared to be repaired and in completely working order, joining the band once more. Foxy, however, had still been left behind the curtain, never to see the light of day again. Jonathan Hugo tries to find another buyer for the establishment, having not even been able to turn a profit on his investment, but is unable to find one. December 17th, 1992. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is condemned and shut down after Jonathan Hugo is sued by former security guard Mike Schmidt, who claimed he spent a week locking himself in the security office while the animatronics tried to get in and kill him. These claims were at first seen as preposterous, but after the numerous complaints about the place, it did prompt a thorough police investigation. They found the decayed human corpses inside numerous suits, including ones on stage. After dismantling the endoskeletons, they found human brains in all of them. The children's remains were given to their families, while the unidentified remains were given a proper rest in unmarked graves on the outside of town. Jonathan Hugo was ruined by this, and was sentenced to life in prison, while Funtime Inc. had already become defunct a year before because of the loss of reputation they had received because of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The building is left abandoned, and some say the souls of those who were trapped in the robotic bodies still haunt the grounds.